Well, everyone, I think it's been a minute since I've made a title of a video with saying oldest or whatever, but I've made it a couple of videos on the iPhone 6s talking about, how it's held up on iOS 14 and everything like that. But I want to talk about the importance of the fact that this phone even getting iOS 14 to begin with. I want to take you guys back down memory lane. We have been kind of saying like the iPhone 6s was not going to get the next version of software pretty much since I think like iOS 12, like since the ending of iOS 12, there were a lot of people speculating and rumors coming out saying that, oh, the iPhone 6s is not going to be getting it as well as the iPhone SE. And actually, it kind of stemmed from the iPhone SE. People were saying that phone was not going to get it, so most probably the 6s also was not going to get it as well. And that would have been really sad because that would mean the 5s, the iPhone 6, the 6s, and the SE would stop getting support at the same time. That was 4 different phones at the same time, which I don't think that was going to happen. But I still made videos about it because it was very interesting. But then iOS 13 came out, and at that point we were like, okay, probably 6s SE, probably not getting the next version of software. It makes sense at this point. It would just be these phones, getting left out, and then the iPhone 7 would take its place, and yada yada yada. So that ended up happening, right? But then towards the end, we were kind of seeing reports again saying that the SE was not going to be getting iOS 14. So that means that they both were going to get unsupported, pretty much. But guess what? That ended up not happening either. And that in and of itself is insane because iOS 14 officially, got announced. And guess what? The iPhone 6s was in the device list, which was crazy. When I saw that, I was like, that is insane. And I never really made a video talking about that. I was literally like looking at it and I was crying. I was in public too and I was like tearing up. No, I'm just kidding, it wasn't like that. But it was a pretty big deal in my opinion. And the fact that this phone is supported, that in and of itself is a very big deal. Now, stability wise, it's really not that great. And I just realized this, but my 6s actually has a bend in it. I don't know if you guys can tell me right here, but that in and of itself is a very big deal in my opinion. That just shows the commitment Apple has. Now, I understand. I'm going to tell you this right now. Do not install iOS 14. Do not even think about it right now. Wait until it officially comes out. And I even think when it officially comes out, it's probably going to be a little less stable, but it's okay. It'll get better over time. But that's the most important thing. The fact that Apple is still showcasing support for this type of phone. This one came out in 2015. Now, I'm going to tell you, other phones that came out in 2015, phones like the Galaxy S6 and every other phone that came from it, those phones are completely unsupported. I custom ROM'd my S6 not too long ago and it actually worked pretty good on Android 10, but this phone, I don't have to go through all that. I just have to install the beta and download it. And the craziest thing about this phone, which I think is very important to say, is at the same time that the iPhone 11 Pro Max gets iOS 14, the same time that the iPhone 12 will probably get iOS 14, will be the same time that the iOS 14 update comes on the iPhone 6s as well. And this it'll be 6 years old next year, but this 5-year-old phone is still getting day one updates the same time that all these other phones come out as well. Which is crazy to me that Apple is showing the same type of support for this phone as they are for the other newer phones that cost, over $1,000. And you can pick this thing up for less than $100, which is very important. So Apple's commitment is insane. With Samsung and a lot of other Android phones, when an update comes out, they slowly roll it out for all other phones. They roll it out for the Galaxy S20 the one day, and then they roll it out for the Galaxy S10 the next month, and then the S9 the next month, and all this stuff. So you never really know. It's never really consistent. With the 6s and iPhones in general, day one updates, very important. I love that. Now, another thing I want to hit on is the security updates after iOS 14. Now, honestly, iOS 14 is probably the last update this phone is getting. I'm very well aware of that. I would be shocked if this thing gets iOS 15, or if even people say it's getting iOS 15. If there's rumors about it, I will be shocked in my opinion. But you have to remember that recently Apple switched up their lifecycle support. So with iOS 12, and with iOS 13, even though Apple's still pushing updates for iOS 13 and iOS 14 for the newer phones right now, iOS 14 for the beta and iOS 13 for the official versions, the iPhone 6 and the 5s have been getting updates as well sequentially through iOS 13 updates, which is insane. And the craziest thing is that just recently, Apple has actually pushed out an update just 2 days ago for the iPhone 6s and the iPhone SE on iOS 12. Now that's a very big deal because, in my opinion, this could mean that Apple would be, showcasing and prolonging the support of the iPhone 6s and the iPhone SE for an extra year on top of this device. So when iOS 14 officially comes out, okay, let's say we're like on iOS 14.4 or something like that, and iOS 15 comes out in a beta, even if the iPhone 6s does not get iOS 15 next year, remember we're talking about long term right now, that could possibly mean that Apple is still going to be pushing iOS 14 updates the same time iOS 15 comes out. So while the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus and all those newer phones are getting iOS 15, let's say they're on iOS 15.4, we'll probably be on like iOS 14.4.8 by the time, the official version of iOS 16 comes out. So think about that. We're talking so long term, even a couple years from now. And you might think that's crazy, that's impossible, or whatever, but Apple's doing it right now, whether you realize it or not. Apple has been pushing those updates for iPhone 6 and iPhone 5S the whole entire time. The iPhone 5S came out in 2013, bro. That's crazy. I didn't even remember what I was thinking about in 2013, and there's still phones that, still have this type of capability. I don't even remember what I was thinking about last year, bro. Like, what? And the fact that this phone is getting this type of capability is crazy. This video is way longer than I thought it was going to be. It's like me rambling. But I want to say the fact that Apple is pushing these updates on these older phones, even though it's buggy, even though it's less stable and all this stuff, I think it's very important. Now, there could be this whole other underlying argument of like, and I used to do this conspiracy all the time, if you guys remember, but it's like, Apple's pushing these updates so they get slower and all this stuff and more issues, so then people will update their phone. But I think it goes both ways. I think, if Apple didn't support their phones for a long time, like how Android and most Android manufacturers do, then, look at all those Android manufacturers. They have a horrible, reputation of keeping their older phones supported, making people update. And Apple, they push updates for their older phones, yet they get the same thing too, you know what I mean? But it's a little bit less here. So as of right now, iOS 14, I go on Twitter every day and there's always new problems and all this stuff, so do not install iOS 14. But I want you to understand the logic behind it. I think it's very cool. I'm so excited about it. And the fact that this phone that came out in 2015 is still relevant and people are still talking about it. People like me and people like everyone else who still talk about this phone. I knew this was a gem, when I first bought it back a couple years ago, but it gets better and better every year. The SE included. The SE is a great phone, but technically this is the oldest phone that is supported under iOS 14. So, and that really pretty much covers everything I wanted to hit on. This was completely odd. Like I never write scripts or anything, but this was completely off top. I think iOS 14 is going to get great. I think it's going to get better, but right now, do not install it. Don't even think about installing it. Even on my iPhone 6s, I'm hyping it up like crazy. iOS 14 has been kind of average. It hasn't been that great. It hasn't been that bad. Running into tons of issues, but that's what happens when you install a beta. So that's really pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. More importantly, everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.